Hi there. This is a video recording some thoughts at the start of this game of Austerlitz, 1805, Napoleon's greatest victory. I'm going to speak about thoughts of the plans of the two sides prior to them launching their forces, and something about the combat system which I didn't mention in the previous video. Now I've had this set up for quite a time, and I haven't been able to get to it, so I wanted to record this video so I can actually start playing the game. I wanted to capture the beginning moments. These here are that's the Pratzen Heights. The village of Pratzen is there, and we will see the are they Austrian? Yes, no, of course they're Russian. The Russian Imperial Guard reinforcing through here. Otherwise we have the coalition forces here and here, and over here we have the sort of the great mass of the French, and then here we have the which corps is it again? The 4th Corps, with divisions here, here and here. This is a cavalry division, and then another division which is scattered along here. So these are the Russian Imperial Guard reinforcements. This is the 3rd Corps, the French 3rd Corps, which will be coming on as they came on in a previous scenario of just this section of the battlefield, on there and there. Oh yeah, excuse, there's some slight glare here because I got a light up here, which is to compensate for, otherwise I get a very heavy shadow because of my overhang over the map. Anyway, so French will be getting reinforcements there and there, but there's some at 840 and then 3 more here, and the Austrian-Russian side get their Imperial Guard coming at that time. So we're starting at 7:20. You can see we have 20-minute turns, and we can go all the way to 440. There's some artillery of the Austrians come on there. In fact, I've temporarily lost them. It's 2 units. They are around somewhere. I hope I find them, else I'm going to have to make them up again. I had them previously. These are replacement leaders, so for leader losses you can see there's a few counters there. I didn't click them, so I can make new ones up there for any of the losses. And these ones are, there's two kind of these ones are the Turelia Po, and these ones are from Turelia Corps, so French units. So this one has broken down into the pheasantry, and in fact, yeah, just the pheasantry, and then there's some cavalry here, and a division there, and the other one, so that's one that's broken down, and then the other one hasn't broken down. The other, that one's here, so next to the pheasantry, and then we've got all these are all the other counters that you get in the game. So over here we have the limbs, leader initiative markers, and also French, they have 3 extra leaders here that are stacked with Napoleon. Napoleon is over here. Bessery is next to him and so forth. So we've got Bessery, Oudinot, Laon here, Murat's cavalry here, and then who's this? This is Bernadotte here. I'm looking for Devou. I need to find him because he can... Normally you cannot... and we've got Sue there in charge of all that. I guess, oh yeah, Bernadotte, of course, he's coming on with the third corps. So normally you can only... Sorry, I'll get back to these guys in a minute. Normally you can only add limbs into the pool available for activation if the leader's within range of, for the French Napoleon. But Devou, who's going to be coming on there, can do it himself. Likewise, Bagration can do it himself. We've got Alexander here, who's basically the overall leader. So he's within range of all these fellows to be able to get their markers into the pool. Although all these ones are under the command of Butzoud and the left wing, so it's kind of more or less half of the coalition force, which was historically charged to go around here and move up on sort of the flank or the rear of the French. So these fellows are with Napoleon, and so they can be used for special detachments, which, so essentially they've got a figure, no, I'm not sure if it's the black circled one or I think it's the yellow one. They can grab that many units within their range and just take them off, on a separate mission, as it were. And the French, they also have these brigade leaders, so you can also detach a brigade from any other, from those corps. So the 5th Corps, Oudinot, and the 1st Corps. So again, to sort of supplement otherwise the divisional and the leaders. Corps leaders don't actually command any forces, they just assist the activation of their divisional leaders. Otherwise, that's all the limbs, and I have selected these ones to start the game. Now, there's two scenarios of the whole game. The one is the sort of historical scenario, and I played it out in a smaller scenario, which, as I said, takes up just this part of the map. And that is the one where these corps are, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4 wings, they were called, were tasked with taking, say, this, this and this. And they essentially, until they have taken those, they can't not release to do anything else. Now, I'm not playing that game. I'm more interested in what might happen than a history lesson of how to bash the Austro-Russian army. So with that in mind, I'm allowed to choose, each side has their independent, and then I could either choose 2 corps of the Allies, should I call them coalition or allies? I think in the game they call them the Allies, yes, but in my mind they're part of the coalition. They're the coalition, I think, because that was the name under which they were operating at the time. So excuse me if I mix those two terms up. They mean the same thing in this context. Either I could do 2 corps or I think 3 divisions or 4 divisions. I chose 2 corps, and same with the French, 2 corps or 5 divisions, and I've chosen 5 divisions. So what I've chosen, this I'll tell you in a minute what I chose, but this is the thinking. So you'll notice that these are fogs. So the first 2 turns there's fog everywhere, which is basically half movement, unless you are on a road. And then the fog clears to the levels below, levels above, so level 8 is clear, then levels 6 and above are clear, so forth. So it clears from the hilltops first. And by 9 AM, after 5 turns, I've tracked out that these fellows could at best have moved that far. These fellows could at best have moved that far, taking into account their slower movement in the fog. And these fellows at best could have moved that far. You'll note that some of them start So these two start in strategic movement, and so did these. These ones don't. They might be able to get strategic movement if they're fortunate, but it's not a done deal. So sort of say worst case scenario, they get that far, best a bit further. Same there. These fellows could go all the way over there. These fellows could get all the way to here, and these fellows could get all the way to there, and then the fog will clear, and then they can actually start sort of being quite effective in combat. So with that thought in mind, I worked out my planning. I also found that likewise, if these fellows in 5 turns, if they have strategic movement, essentially these fellows would be somewhere like here, and these fellows would be somewhere like here. The French move faster, so that they would move 6 hexes faster overall, or 12 if they get strategic movement than the allies in those 5 turns. So that's to say that the allies will only just have started sort of being engaging there by the time the French are slamming into them up here on the heights. So imagining that the allies have some forethought of that possibility, I've decided to activate at the start. I'm not going to take those objectives. Essentially the plan is for the advance guard to take here and then move up, and their job is essentially to kind of roll up here. Of course, I know that the 3rd Corps is going to be coming on here, so they're going to essentially meet them. These ones will be following up sort of here, so essentially those two are going to have to take on the 3rd Corps and this part of the 4th Corps. So that's sort of 1 each. Then these ones, I've put their limb in, so their limb is in the pool, so they can start up early, hopefully to clear that, and maybe they can form a defensive line along the river there. And these ones, hopefully I will be able to get their limb and they can provide backup. But anyway, I want them to start early, so their limb is in the pool, and then this limb is in the pool, because I want these ones essentially to come around here to meet this threat. So I think these ones I want to go into Pratzen itself, because they will be tasked to sort of be holding that, and then these ones are going to move up here, and depending on if these move, then they will have to engage them. Otherwise, they'll hopefully hop over the stream there and come in on the flank. And then all the rest is just really contingent on how I roll with the ability, the command rolls. So I will just have to wing it. One thing the allies have to do is that before they roll the command roll, they can say it's going to be Buxhowden, so it'll be these ones that he's in range of. I'll try and activate, and he's a bit slower. I think he was drinking on the day and so forth, because I think he had terrible misgivings about the plan, and was, I guess, trying to drown it in alcohol. So it's harder to get the activations for these guys than it will be for these. So that's why I sort of wanted to get him started, and then I think we're going to have to activate 1 or 2 of these quite quickly first to meet that. And also Bagration, he's right on the edge. We have that old edge of the world syndrome, meaning that if he doesn't move, I set him up, or everyone's in column except for the cavalry. There wasn't space to set them up in column, so I figured they had to be in line. They can move out of that quite quickly, but the point being, I could have set them all up in line so he's in kind of like a more or less defensive formation. But if he's hit there, any routing guys are off the map and they're gone. They don't come back. So we need him to advance, and so again, I need a command roll to activate him. This is going to be the Allies' problem, because the French will be activating quicker, more men, rather than so sort of running around slowly activating allies. Yeah, so like it was Lannes is in a column ready to move forward. In fact, all of the French are in column, except for some of these fellows here. Yeah, I've limbered that artillery just to try and meet it, so it can move around to meet whatever it needs to. So French are ready to move, and what I chose to activate for them is both divisions of Lannes, of course, and then this, and this division. Did I actually do the... Yes, the dragoons, yeah. So those 3 divisions, again, because they're going to spearhead the assault up onto the heights. Now, the Allies hope to take Prats and defend it. Brings me to the thing about the combat in this game. And this is my photocopy of the back of this chart, just so that I can have them both displayed. I didn't mention before, but it's very interesting, is that for melee combat, now, apart from artillery, fire combat is at 1 hex range, so adjacent. And you can fire and then melee afterwards. And there's 3 types. There's infantry bayonet, infantry assault, and cavalry charge, and they're all slightly different in how they work. Infantry bayonet is the standard. You fire some volleys, advance, fix bayonets, and you go through these steps. You declare it. Your attacker has to make a melee check, a pre-melee morale check, that is. They wrote shock on here. You can see I've clumsily said, no, it's melee. That was a mistake. That's the only place they call it shock. So, that you can see as a holdover for someone who's been playing a lot of great battles of history. Anyway, so a bit of a slip there. So the attacker makes a melee check. If he gets it, then you get return fire from the defender, and then the defender has to make a morale check. If they fail that morale check, they run. So there's, the attacker's going to take some blasting as they move in, but then hopefully the defenders say, right, sod it, we're going now. We've loosed a few shots. It's time to move back against their bayonets, and that's how the sort of standard melee combat happens in this. And but then they make a distinction in infantry assault, which only happens in woods and towns, villages. So in infantry assault, what can happen? You have all those prior steps, but then instead of the defender fleeing, if he misses his morale check, he could become shaken, etc. And then you actually go to the melee, so there will then actually be hand-to-hand fighting, or at least very close up shooting at each other. And depending on that come of that, someone could voluntarily retreat, or it could continue. So you could keep going, and then eventually there might be some advance or pursuit. Interestingly, there's no advance after combat, as it were, in the infantry bayonet. It's just that the defender either stays or moves away. And then the cavalry charge obviously has got even more involved in it, because you can have a counter charge, and you have a formation check, because someone might try to go into square, or they might just try to stand, and then the cavalry, the pursuit's more sort of important, and then they get blown, as it's called, after that. So it's something that again I found interesting in the combat system, in that melee is the bayonet charge is quite decisive, in that one or other is either you stand or either the defender stands or they go, and if they go, then the next turn either they have to move. I don't know. I haven't. I'll have to speak to it as we go into it, as I remember it. Generally, the defender's so shaken up that even though potentially they could move back the next turn, it's better that they sort of have given the ground, and that the attacker the next turn will move in. But anyway, so that is the oh yeah, last thing to mention, I think, is the objective hexes. So and how each side wins. So the French win if they put 7 Allied corps at breakpoint, and I believe there are 9 Allied corps, and they have to take these are the highest points on the heights. So there's 2 hexes there, 2 there, 3 there. They also have to take Pratzen. They also have to hold cobble nets, and then they want to take the Olmütz highway. That runs all the way along here. So you can see essentially what that means is they have to get rid of Bagration, so that will be broken, and they have to get rid of 1 or 2 corps here to take that. Then they have to, there's about 3 or 4 corps here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's 6, and then they have to take 1 other odd corps to take all of these objectives and win the game. According to the game victory conditions. On the contrary, the Allies need to take this. They have 2 options. Either they put 5 Allied corps at breakpoint, and essentially that means when units reach half their strength, they are broken, and when a certain number of units per division is broken, then the division is broken. And then I don't know, because I haven't got there yet, we have the GMT provided these on lost charts, so you can record it on here. You can also record the fatigue, so you don't have to record it on map with the counters. But you can see, you know, that if a division breaks, is it 1 or 2 divisions? I'm not sure, but the corps can break as well. And so the Allies either need to do 5 of the French. It's not so likely, I don't think, unless they give, you know, really good sort of defence against the French onslaught, or they can take how many is it of these? They need to get any 6 of this, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9. So you see that's quite a tall order. To get that, when all the French up here, you know, going to be moving this way, either I think, you know, Bagration would destroy Larn and move up here, while these are all engaged over here. Not likely to happen. So they're more likely to be able to take 1, 2, 3, say 4, and then, you know, maybe that 5 or that 5, or even take and hold that. So you see the Allies have some options to gain some kind of victory if they can hold those places and not have been decimated by the French. And the French have, especially the Olmütz highway, is you know, they're going to have absolutely completely wipe out Bagration. He can't be on the highway at the end of the game, or else the French are not going to win. Their victory conditions are hard and fast. They need all of them. So I think it's going to be an interesting battle, and I'll be getting started, get as much into it as soon as I can. Now that I've done this video, I can start moving the fellows around. So that's it for now. Over and out.